Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another RRLeagues.com live stream. We are at the Nurburgring today for round 4 of the Season 30 Formula Race Room Junior Series. And I'm Miguel Santiago Carao. I'll be your host today for this live stream of the race. We're heading into the second half of the season today with a race at the Nurburgring. We have a race in 2 weeks' time at Brands Hatch Indy, which will be quite hectic, such a short circuit. And then for the season finale, we will travel to the Hungaroring. What's to say about this series here? We have our Formula Race Room Junior cars, free cars in Race Room Racing Experience, and as you can see on the image, no wings attached, so not a lot of downforce, not a lot of weight, but in comparison quite a lot of power, which will not make it easy for the drivers today, and also not in the last 3 races, to keep the car stable and on track, and especially on the pace. We've seen some good races. Turnout has been mediocre, let's say, so we hope that the drivers that have signed up for this series do show up for the coming races, but that will not stop us from having a good scrap on the stream and some good racing today. We first have a 20-minute race where the starting order is determined by the qualifying session coming up in 9 minutes, and then in race 2, which is 40 minutes, we apply the top 10 reverse grid principle, so that will provide some good action in the 40 minutes race for sure. So that's it for the introduction. Let's have a quick look at results of the last race here from this series, which was at the Silverstone Historic Circuit with a fast club chicane at the end of the track, and both races won by our championship leader Tony Ukic. He won race 1 after taking pole position, quite a commanding lead of 8 seconds after 20 minutes, followed by Vlastimir Lucas and Greg Metcalf. In the AM Cup, it was Ben Reynolds fighting off Stefano Merazzi and Elio Fernandez. And then in race 2, Tony Ukic stormed from the back of the field to the front. It was not an easy task, but he did it, and he won the race with a gap of 13 seconds in that longer race, while the guys behind him were fighting for position. That was Robert Horvat, Vlastimir Lucas to complete the top 3, and in the AM Cup it was Elio Fernandez taking the win in the AM Cup for race 2, followed by Stefano Merazzi and Ben Reynolds. So completely opposite results from the first race. In any case, that's the result from the last race, so a very strong performance by Tony Ukic, who has a good grip on the championship's title at the moment after winning all but 1 race, if I'm not mistaken. So he is the man to beat today. If we have a look at the championship standings, we see Tony Ukic at the top of the leaderboard of the Drivers' Championship, followed by Magnus Smedegaard, and then it's Vlastimir Lucas in 3rd spot. In the AM Cup, it's Ben Reynolds fighting off Steve Carman, who is not too far behind. Then we have Stefano Merazzi and Clive Britton, Ranjiv Kelsey, who are a little bit further behind, but nothing is lost. We still have 3 races to go, starting today at the Nurburgring. Looking at the Teams Championship, it gets a bit closer. We have RRL Motorsport, which is Tony Ukic and Simon Fillingham. They have 672 points. BH Racing is trailing right behind them with 632 points. So those are the two big teams, BH Racing, that's Vlastimir Lucas and Greg Metcalf in this series. So that is a battle to watch for sure. Then we have our Ironman Championship, which is focusing on distance driven, which means we will just look at how many laps a driver has done in the race, and the driver at the top of the standings at the end is our Ironman champion, and we disregard any race winners, so that gives some other guys a chance to also fight for a title, and the only thing that you need to do is show up for every race and never lose a lap to the race leader. These 4 championships run in all of our series, so we have an AM Cup, Ironman standings, Teams Championship and Drivers standings in all of our series, which makes it very entertaining to watch on the stream and to fight for positions during the race. Talking about different championships, we have 4 championships running at the moment. Firstly, we have our DTM 92 BMW versus Merc Championship, sponsored by the Crew Chief, which is also live streamed every Sunday bi-weekly. It was last Sunday was the last race, and that's an epic series, fully subscribed, big grids and some epic racing with commentary by myself and my fellow admin at RRL, Simon Fillingham, and we are struggling to keep up with the action, so make sure to check that out if you want to get racing with us in that series. There are still some reserve spots left to get in there. Then we have our Formula Race Room Junior series, also in Race Room Racing Experience, which you will witness today. Then we have our FR90 series, which is a 4-race series only, using the brand new FR90 cars by Race Room, and taking advantage of those new cars with races at Spa, Suzuka, Hungaroring and Imola. And then as our 4th series, we have an R Factor 2 series running the Flat 6 mod with 45-minute races, which is also fully subscribed and giving some great action and great grids to be fighting in. So if you see anything that you like, head on over to rrleagues.com and sign up for one of our series. We will be back with new series at the end of August, beginning of September. Those will start, so if you don't have time now because of the summer breaks, then we welcome you at the end of August for our new series, which will be revealed one by one very, very soon. On to today then. We're at the Nurburgring Grand Prix circuit, which was part of the Nurburgring 24-hour track last weekend, so everybody probably watched that race and has the corners firmly in their memory. But this will not be an easy race for the drivers. Quite a long track. It's not the most difficult track, but in these cars there will be some corners where you are really on the limit. Whereas in a GT car, for example, that would be quite easy. In these cars, that can become a challenge, and I'm sure we will see that also during the qualifying session. But that's the track layout for tonight. Now, with 2 minutes to go, let's have a look at the on-track action. We have 9 drivers on the server at the moment, and at the top of the standings at the moment is Tony Ukic with a 2 minutes 10 seconds and 6/10 of a second, and his main championship rival Magnus Smedegaard is right on his tail, less than 1/10 of a second behind him. And Tony now driving over the grass. That shouldn't be happening. There he is. Okay, great. So we have Tony Ukic in first, then Smedegaard filling him half a second back, very closely followed by Pavlacek. Then we have Sven Hecke then Ben Reynolds in front of Colin Barker, and then Steve Carman. So we have two AM Cup drivers. We also have Stefano Merazzi on the server, who has not set a lap yet. So we have 3 AM Cup drivers, the rest are pro drivers, and looking forward to this race. A little bit under 3 minutes to go in this practice session. I will take a very short break and I'll be right there with you when the qualifying session starts. It looks like we have a small issue with the server, or at least with the broadcasting tool, so we'll get that fixed as soon as possible for you. Alright, we are back. So it looks like it was something in the broadcasting tool messing things up. Cars are still driving around, not hovering around in space, luckily, as we got the current standings here up in the left. If the yes, we are joining the qualifying session now, but we saw Tony Ukic improving his lap time and setting a blistering 209 lap, and also Radek Pavlacek got in front of Magnus Smedegaard into second position. So it's looking quite close there in the top 3. Let's have a quick look here at who's first out of the pits. Looks like Simon Fillingham. He is first out of the pits. Let's see what kind of lap he can set here. Firstly, of course, the out lap, warming up the tires and the brakes as well as you can. But as you can see, no wings on this car, so it will be quite a challenge to keep the car on track here. And that will be the key. We saw in the previous races, making no mistakes gives you good points, good position. So that's probably the key to this race. Keep it on the track, keep it on the pace, of course, and get a good finishing position to quick start your start into the second half of the race. Now, as we get this qualifying session underway, If you have any questions about the race, about the stream, or about any of our other racing series which I mentioned before, then please let us know in the comments, and we'll try to react as soon as possible. And this is my time to also quickly advertise our endurance racing club this weekend, Saturday, at with the Group C and the Group 4 cars with a 2-hour race. So be there for this fun event, not part of any championship, but make sure to join us and get a feeling for what RRLeagues is all about. Let's ride with Fillingham here on board, hard braking into turn 1, missing the apex just a little bit. Once again, a blind turn in here, so getting it hooked up is very important. Then hard braking, need to brake earlier than you think. Keep it tight here. Head on over to the left to square this right-hander out, then hard onto the power into the fast left-hander. Hard braking here at the cones, and then getting it turned in and all the way to the left-hand side as much as you can to open up the next right-hander. So quite a tricky circuit here, the Nurburgring. Not as tricky as the Nordschleife, but still it catched quite a bit of pro drivers out this weekend, so it's not the easiest circuit for sure. Double apex here for Fillingham, setting a purple first sector time, then through the Schumacher S's, keeping the minimum speed as high as possible. And we'll have to see how cut tracks come into play. Hard braking here just after that overhead banner, and once again get the car all the way to the left to even out this right-hander onto the long back straight, and not the perfect exit there by Fillingham, but let's stay with him. We are using the tight chicane here for this track layout, so not the fast left right-hander, but the tight chicane, so that will prove a bit more of a passing opportunity if you can get it right. Then hug the wall here on the right and onto the power. Let's see what kind of lap times the Simon sets here. So that lap from him was invalidated, it seems. We have a 2.10. A 2.10 for Radek Pavlacek, a 2.9.8 for Smedegaard. The broadcast tool is really acting up today, so I hope it doesn't cause us any issues during the race. But Magnus Smedegaard setting the pace, 2:09. That will be a time that Tony Ukic, currently in second, will be trying to beat. Let's see. First sector for Smedegaard, not improving at the moment. Fillingham then, no time yet, as he got his first lap invalidated. But Tony Ukic also into the 209s with a 209.997, so just in there. We have Ben Reynolds setting it to 13.3, and currently in 6th position. Steve Carman, his rival in the AM Cup, he's quicker, doing it to 12.2, so 1 second quicker almost. And Fillingham setting green sectors. Let's see where he ends up. He's currently in last position. Ben Reynolds also improving, and filling him going into 4th. 1.5 seconds back from the pole man, so still some work to do for him. Ben Reynolds then, can he get in front of Steve Carman? That's the question. And then we'll have a look at Tony Ukic. Reynolds up into 5th, and a 7/10 gap to Steve Carman behind. Sven Hecke then up into 4th, filling him down to 5th position. And Greg Metcalf, last position at the moment, but also improving. His teammate Vlastimir Lukas not racing today, and that could prove costly in the team's championship. So very unfortunate there to miss out on double points for BH Racing. Metcalf over the line and into 6th. So everybody now set a lap time. Spread is quite big, front to back, but that will probably still close up. Looking at the leaderboard times, fastest time on the leaderboard was set by Magnus Smedegaard and was at 2:10.2, so we're already well below that, so obviously on the leaderboard. Just setting a couple of laps with a ghost to get to know the track and how this car should be driven on this track. But as I said, we have some very good top drivers here in this league, as well as any other variety of talent. So don't be afraid to join RRLeagues. There's someone to fight with for everyone. Everybody now on their second runs. Worth a note is that when the timer hits 0, the session is over. So the guys will want to get their laps in as soon as possible. We have 6 minutes to go, so it's now time to get out, because you have a 2-minute plus out lap to do, and you need to cross the line before the timer hits 0. Stefano Merazzi then, he's currently in last position. But I don't think that will stay that way. Can he get in front of Reynolds, Carman, who are also in the AM Cup class? No, he ends up still in last and gets going for another lap. Smedegaard and Ukic, they are on their out laps. So no, Ukic is on a fast lap. He is a bit quicker in the first sector. Let's follow him around and see what he does here through the Schumacher S's. We're looking at a 146.899 for the second sector. So 25 seconds to go for that. Let's see if he can improve on his own time. It's very close with him and Smedegaard, so it is possible that he gets him for pole position. Of course, Smedegaard also starting a new lap very, very soon. So we'll see what he can do. They are first and second in the Drivers' Championship. So another purple sector, 46.6, 3/10 up almost for Ukic. A good run through that final chicane, very nicely done. Now getting the braking right and hugging that wall, and then early onto the power and storming to the line. I think this will be a provisional pole for Ukic. 209.6, 2/10 clear of Smedegaard. Stefano Merazzi then. Setting green sector, so he will improve his time. Filling him as well, improving. So times will get closer and closer. I think Pavlacek is probably in a position to get into the 209s as well. And Toni Ukic is in the pits at the moment, so he will not be defending his position anymore. Let's see what Fillingham can do here in the second sector. Looking at a 147.7 was his previous sector 2 time. 47.4, so he is up on his own time. Heartbreaking for that chicane. Gets it right. So then there's only that last corner left. He's currently in 5th. Needs to make up 3/10 on Sven Hikke to get into 4th. 8/10 to Radek Pavlacek. Let's see what Fillingham delivers up into P4. So he passes Sven Hikke. Still a bit over a second behind our pole sitter Magnus Smedegaard, setting a purple first sector. So it's heating up now. Second sector by Ukic was a 46.6. And Smedegaard rapidly coming up on that timing line. Now on the back straight, braking for the hairpin. He's just behind. He needs to get a perfect last sector, and we rode on board with Ukic through that final chicane. He managed that very, very well, so it will be difficult for Smedegaard. I think he will get closer. That's for sure. But will he beat Ukic? This is his last attempt over the line, and only 0.04 of a second behind Ukic. Very, very close, but looks like another pole position for Toni Ukic, as we have Pavlacek into the pits, Fillingham no more time, I think. No, he does have time to finish that lap, but a bad first sector for him, so I don't think he will be improving. Sven Hikke, he is improving his first sector time, so can he take back P4 from Fillingham? That will be the question. To round up this qualifying session, as close as ever at the front, but Ukic eking that pole position out from Magnus Smedegaard. It will be a nice sight to see how that pans out in the race. Sven Hikke then, Fillingham setting a 47.4 in the second sector, 47.2 for Hikke. So looking good for the German. Merazzi is also still running. Let's have a look at him when Hikke crosses the line. And he takes P4. 9/10 of pole position, but he gets in front of Fillingham. The only driver still running is Merazzi, and he's on his out lap. So that's session over, and a pole position for Toni Ukic. So now we have a 1-minute countdown to the start of the race. Let me quickly take a drink and I'll be right back with you. So 20 seconds to go to the start of the first race. The lights are on. And there we go. It's Toni Ukic on the right. He gets a decent start. He is on the outside line, so can Smedegaard outbrake him? It looks like Smedegaard is in front. Yes, he is. He's on the inside line as well. And another car at the inside line there. Oh, and a big crash there in T1. Not an easy one to negotiate, but the front runners all crashing out, and we have Sven Hecke in first, Greg Metcalf in second. We have Tony Ukic rejoining the track in 8th. Magnus Smedegaard is just in front of him. So this will become a hectic race for them. Radek Pavlacek as well. He is in 9th position. Let's quickly have a look here at the front. So still pretty bunched up. And we have Steve Carman in 3rd position overall, leader in the AM Cup, followed by his rival Ben Reynolds. And at the front it's Sven Hecke versus Greg Metcalf. As I said, Greg's teammate not there today, but still, it's if he can win this race, that will mean great points for BH Racing. And currently Ukic and Fillingham in 10th and 8th position. So of course, very early days in this race, but very unfortunate. T1 will for sure have been mentioned in the driver's briefing just before the race, so very unfortunate to have an incident there. That's not what we want to see. The first lap of the race, any incidents is also always investigated by the race stewards, as it's getting very close there behind, between Smedegaard and Barker here. Smedegaard looking at the inside of Barker. Barker leaves the door open, but keeps it on the outside. Very nicely done. And across the line for lap 1 of this race, Sven Hecke leads from Metcalf and Carman. Smedegaard making it past Colin Barker. Now setting his sights on Stefano Merazzi. Everybody now gets the braking into turn 1 right, and through they go. Tony Ukic closing that gap on Colin Barker very, very rapidly. Pavlacek and Fillingham are a bit further down. Side by side here. Smedegaard going through on Merazzi, but he defends back. Nice over-under. And now Smedegaard is looking like he's going to lose out. Tony Ukic having a look, getting past Colin Barker. No, he's on the inside still. Great action here. Smedegaard on the outside, Ukic on the outside. The two championship leaders trying to go through. Very respectful racing here. Merazzi is on the inside. He needs to get his braking absolutely right. And he doesn't. He overshoots his braking point, and the two top runners go through. Meanwhile, at the front, Hecke still with a 1.7 gap to Metcalf. Carman dropping off just a little bit. And he's followed by Ben Reynolds as closely as ever. So that's looking like a nice fight for the AM Cup. Merazzi is the 3rd AM Cup driver. He's a bit further back, just getting passed by Ukic and Smedegaard. But the field's still quite bunched together, and Fillingham, last place man at the moment. He is closing the gap to the leaders in front, or at least he was. Now growing back a little bit, so that's a good sign for the race. Colin Barker now versus Stefano Merazzi. He wants to get through, as we see the whole field. Sven Hecke here in the forefront, then Greg Metcalf, then Steve Carman, Ben Reynolds, Smedegaard, Ukic, Merazzi, Barker, and then Pavlacek and Fillingham. So everybody covered by one main straight, and it's Barker in front of Merazzi now. Can Pavlacek follow through and get close to Ukic and Smedegaard? That should be his goal. Oh, late move there on the inside, but nice try. He's on the outside, keeps it tidy. Nice room given by Stefano Merazzi, and Pavlacek goes through. Next up is Simon Fillingham. He is in last place and keeping the gap to the first place drivers. As we have 5 minutes already left in this race. Looking at the fastest lap times, it's Sven Hecke setting the fastest lap time at 2:10.9 at the moment. Tony Ukic fighting it with Steve Carman. So a bit of a mistake there, I think. No, they both got past Steve Carman. So the AM Cup leaders, Ben Reynolds and Steve Carman, now split by the pro driver leaders. And Greg Metcalf keeping the gap at the front under 2 seconds, so that's still very, very manageable. Will Magnus Smedegaard go for the inside line? He stays behind. Let's have a look from the rear of Ben Reynolds. He's in 3rd spot at the moment. Pavlacek also getting close to Barker. As close to the wall here as you can. Oh, and a good exit for Smedegaard. Oh, and that's, I think, Pavlacek into the wall there at the back of the grid. And he loses out. Very unfortunate. Back to the action here at the front. Smedegaard goes through. Ukic goes through on Reynolds as well. So these two guys moving up the field very, very quickly. Not sure what happened to Pavlacek there, but he is out of this race, unfortunately. A big crash on main straight. Now the gap to the lead from Smedegaard is over 5 seconds. Can they close that down in the coming 12 minutes? That's not an easy task, especially when Greg Metcalf is between that. Ukic dropping back, it seems. No, that was just a timing glitch, apparently. Still battle for the lead in the AM Cup between Reynolds and Colin Barker. In the Castrol livery, gap almost 2 seconds now. So Ben Reynolds at the moment having the advantage. Tony Ukic right there staying with Smedegaard. Of course, for the championship. Ukic wants to finish in front of Smedegaard, making that gap at the front of the field bigger. And the gap at the front now shrinking, and Ukic and Smedegaard also setting a 10.9 and a 10.8. So Hecke, Ukic and Smedegaard into the 2:10s lap time. Oh, and Ukic spins it out of the chicane, gets going again and needs to rejoin behind Colin Barker. That's not how he envisioned moving up the grid there from that first lap incident, but there's still time to rectify that. So Magnus Smedegaard can do a good job here in the championship standings. He's in P3, a bit over 2 seconds behind Greg Metcalf, and potentially a bit quicker. 10.8 on the last lap for a 2:11.9 for Metcalf and Hecke, so over a second quicker than the two guys in front. Meanwhile, Fillingham, he's closing the gap surely but steady, closing the gap to Stefano Merazzi. And Tony Ukic showing 100% damage here on my timing screens, so he did have a bit of a crash there. 2:17 was his last lap time, so not what you want to see from the championship leader, but bad luck is part of racing and also part of sim racing. So let's see how Tony Ukic can bounce back with the warm temperatures across Europe these days. The guys here will be sweating to keep the cars on track here. Ukic versus Barker. Let's see. Ukic already showing his nose on the inside, but he was a bit too far back to really make a move there. But putting the pressure on Barker. The gap between Reynolds and Carmen still only 1 second, and a good run there from Ukic onto the back straight. Looks like he gets past Barker. Yes, and he's on the ideal line, so that's pass made and P6 for Tony Ukic. And yeah, it was this chicane catching him out. Those curves are quite high, and if you catch them in the wrong way, you will get spat out by the track. Here's Fillingham versus Merazzi. Meanwhile, Magnus Smedegaard getting the gap at about a second to Greg Metcalf, and the gap to Sven Hecke is also only 1 second. So Simon Fillingham on the inside, completing the pass, it seems, on Merazzi. Yes, he does. So RRL Motorsport moving up the grid slowly but surely. Still the whole field only covered by 15 seconds, so that proves how close it is in this short first race. Ukic now behind Carmen and Reynolds. Now it's a case of using your head. Do I fight the championship leader as an AM Cup driver in second place and potentially lose a bit of time to the car in front, Ben Reynolds, or do I just ease off the throttle, leave him by, and try to follow him through to make a pass for the AM Cup lead? That's what's on Steve Carmen's mind right now, but he needs to be focused on driving the car as quickly as possible. He gives Ukic the position. No, he doesn't. Sorry, that was a bit visual. I saw that wrongly, but Ukic around the outside onto the back straight, and pass made, so only Ben Reynolds to go now before he's back behind Magnus Smedegaard. Smedegaard only half a second behind Metcalf, so this is the three-way battle for the lead, let's say. Bit over 1 second between Metcalf and Hecke, but Smedegaard putting up the pressure to 12.3 for Smedegaard on the last lap, a 12.7 and 6 for Metcalf and Hecke. So Smedegaard still quicker than these guys, but he needs to complete a clean pass, and that will not be easy. Metcalf and Hecke will have gotten a confidence boost by getting so far up the grid, and with only 6 minutes to go, they have a good chance of taking a podium, with Ben Reynolds about 7 seconds behind them, so there's quite a bit of a gap. And I think Hecke and Greg Metcalf would both very gladly take a win here in this series. The gap, Tony Ukic between Reynolds and Carmen. Can Ukic play a role in that AM Cup battle? That's one to watch. Let's have a look back from our race leader. Solid performance by Sven Hecke at the moment, getting into first place after T1, and steady race from him. No mistakes so far as I could see. Once again onto this back straight. Can Magnus Smedegaard get a better exit than Greg Metcalf just in front of him to complete the pass into the chicane? Once again, if you have any questions about RRLeagues.com, the stream, our series, etc., feel free to shout, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. Good runs here from the top three. Ukic now within 2/10 of Ben Reynolds. Let's have a quick look here. If Ukic can make the pass into turn 1. And Merazzi at the back of the grid, staying with Fillingham. So the times are very, very close. Ukic already passed Ben Reynolds here on the main straight, so a better exit out of turn 1. And he gets it slowed down. No, he doesn't. Runs wide. Too deep into that turn 1. Very, very tricky. That's why we saw also that turn 1 incident, unfortunately. Oh, he's on the inside now. Can he get the braking right this time? Yes, he does. Keeps it on the inside and makes the pass for P4. Tony Ukic. And right back to the battle for P2. Metcalf and Smedegaard now really starting to battle. This could benefit Hecke in front. These guys battling it out will always make them that little bit slower. So the gap for the AmCup lead, 2 seconds now between Reynolds and Carmen. Everything still to pray for. 3 minutes to go. Everybody showing good pace, good consistency, and quite even lap times. Will be touch and go whether this is the last lap or we will have another. I think this might be the last lap. We have the guys doing 2:13s, 2:12s, more or less. It will be up to Sven Hecke whether we have another racing lap after this one. Will be very close, so Magnus Smedegaard will want to get the move done this lap, because it will be very, very close. Tony Ukic setting the fastest race lap at the moment, but with a 6-second gap to Smedegaard, there's nothing to be done there. Gap at the front of the AmCup now growing a little bit, bit over 3 seconds now. Let's ride on board with Smedegaard and see where he could make a move. Merazzi getting past Fillingham. Fillingham dropping back a bit, so he made a mistake. Metcalf going defensive. He knows it's money time. He needs to defend this position for all he's worth. Oh, the over-under by Smedegaard. Does he get the move done? They are side by side through the Schumacher S's. Looks like Metcalf has the ideal line. And once again the over-under. Great action here. Can Smedegaard now complete the pass? Once again good defensive driving from Metcalf side by side here. If Smedegaard can keep it on the inside, he will have a good chance of making the pass, but he needs to slot in behind. Can he take advantage of the slipstream? Looks like he's a bit too far back, unfortunately. And 20 seconds to go. Will Sven Hecke cross the finish line before or after the timer hits 0? Greg Metcalf will be hoping the race will be over this lap, but yeah, looks like we only have 5 seconds left. That will be yeah, this is the end of the race. So Sven Hecke taking the win here at round 1 at Nurburgring. Solid performance by him, keeping it together. Greg Metcalf taking 2nd position. Well done to him as well. Smedegaard in 3rd position. Tony Ukic will finish in 4th. Ben Reynolds finishes in 1st in the AmCup, followed by his championship rival Steve Carman. Then Colin Barker in P7, Simon Fillingham in P8, yes indeed, and Stefano Merazzi finishes in P9. Radek Pavlacek did not make it to the end of this race, but if he joins race 2 he will be on pole. So fastest lap set by Magnus Smedegaard. Yes indeed, a 10.830 for him. And race winner Sven Hecke, congratulations. That's our third race winner of this series. So well done, and we'll dive right back into another race. 40 minutes, top 10, reverse grid. So again with that action, and we're back in 20 seconds. So 10 seconds to go before lights out. And Radek Pavlacek not joining us for race 2, so Merazzi is on pole position. The lights are off and off we go. It's Merazzi on the right, Fillingham on the left, and Fillingham getting a good start already into first position. And on the inside, let's hope the drivers use their head and don't cause a massive pileup once again in this first corner. Hecke is on the inside, very close. A bit of a touch there between the two green cars, but everybody through turn 1 cleanly, very well done. Smedegaard down into 8th position. Metcalf in last position at the moment. Tony Ukic already making it up to P3. Battling it out with Steve Carman. So a bit of a less eventful start, but very, very close racing here at the back, side by side. Hecke and Reynolds. Hecke on the outside. Everybody keeps it tidy. This is what we want to see. And Carman flashing a little bit on the server, and Fillingham storming away from the field. His teammate looking at Stefano Merazzi and making the pass, it seems. Yes, he does. Followed through by Stefano Merazzi. So it's a 1-2 for RRL Motorsport at the moment, reclaiming their top team status at the moment. Can they keep it that way? That will be the question. Sven Hecke is in 3rd position. Oh, there's a car off there. It's Ben Reynolds. Yeah, he rejoins the track and gets going again, so no harm done there. So that's the whole field at the end of lap 1. So we have Simon Fillingham finishing lap 1 in 1st position, followed by his teammate Tony Ukic. Then it's Sven Hecke, Colin Barker, Greg Metcalf, and then we have Ben Reynolds, then Magnus Smedegaard in 7th, Steve Carman and Stefano Merazzi. Reynolds, Carman and Merazzi are in the AMP Cup, so they are battling for position. Ukic closing down the gap to his teammate, the championship leader. We'll have to see if Smedegaard, he just got past Ben Reynolds. We're just too late to catch that, unfortunately. So we have our AM Cup drivers in 7th, 8th and 9th. They can battle it out man to man. Smedegaard will want to move up as quickly as he can to get close to the podium positions, and capitalizing on the points that he won in race 1, of course, on championship leader Tony Ukic. Ukic now right on the tail of his teammate. It's right with them. Oh, good exit onto the back straight. Will Fillingham defend? Ukic looks for the ideal line to the chicane, but Fillingham having none of it, keeping his teammate behind. That's his right, of course, but judging by the car characteristics of Ukic, looked like he was expecting to be let past. Fillingham will not make it that easy. That's what we like to see, of course, on the stream. Or else Ukic would maybe storm away. Hard braking into turn 1. This infield section is very, very tricky in any car. And this braking zone here, as you see Ukic taking it a bit too wide and losing out. This battle for first position is shaping up very nicely. Let's hope there are no team orders here within RRL Motorsports, and Fillingham and Ukic battle it out on the track. And in full speed, of course. We have already 6 minutes left. Meanwhile, further back we have Greg Metcalf in 5th position, following Colin Barker. Metcalf, he wants to move up as well and get another good result for race 2. Oh, a good run there from Tony Ukic through the chicane. Just as close as before. Will Fillingham go defensive? No, he doesn't. Leaves the door open, but keeps the position. Over under by Tony Ukic. Ukic on the inside now. And he gets past his teammate up into P1 for championship leader Tony Ukic. Sven Hecke is hanging with these guys, but almost 2 seconds behind. And Fillingham trying to retake P1 from Ukic. Yeah, overshooting his braking point, and Fillingham lighting up the rears, unfortunately, or he would have gotten past once again. But Ukic lucky here to keep P1 after missing turn 1 apex by a mile, let's say. Oh, Hecke into the wall, dropping down. He's not moving. That's a DNF, unfortunately, for our race winner in the first race, Sven Hecke. Into the wall on his own accord, I think. Driver mistake, and a big crash there for Sven Hecke. That puts Colin Barker onto the podium of this second round at the Nurburgring. And a good battle there. Greg Metcalf now smelling the podium once again. So that would be a nice result to counter his teammate Vlastimir Lucas not being here tonight. But of course, a 1-2 for RRL Motorsports. That's difficult to beat, of course. Meanwhile, in the AM Cup, it's Steve Carman, and I think we missed that. Steve Carman is in first in the AM Cup, as Greg Metcalf closes up on Colin Barker. Looks at the inside for the chicane, but chooses to stay behind for now. Steve Carman leading the AM Cup class at the moment, followed by Merazzi and Ben Reynolds. So our championship leader Ben Reynolds having to play catch up. He's 10 seconds behind Merazzi and Carman, so he has his work cut out for him. Bit of a lonely place to be in at the moment for Reynolds. Can he show the rest of his AM Cup competitors how it's done? That will be the question. Meanwhile, Smedegaard joining the battle for P3 on the podium, and Ukic and Fillingham slowly but surely getting away and not having any trouble. Metcalf on the inside on Colin Barker. He gets past. Yes, he does. Can Magnus Smedegaard follow through? He will be side by side. And Smedegaard has the outside line, which is not ideal. Good defense there by Colin Barker, who stays in front to fight another day. Smedegaard wants that podium spot from Greg Metcalf. He still has a half an hour to get it, but he needs to get past Colin Barker first. Fillingham, Metcalf setting 2:13s. Ukic wiping the floor with them at the moment with a 2:11.5 on the last lap. That was 2 seconds quicker. So Ukic in a league of his own. Oh, and late braking by Colin Barker. He hits Greg Metcalf, but Greg very fortunate to not be affected more by that. This puts Barker behind Smedegaard, overshooting his braking point. And again, Metcalf very, very lucky to avoid the incident there. And so Magnus Smedegaard gets gifted P4 and almost a podium spot if Greg was a bit more unlucky. Very fortunate he was not, and we will see an on-track battle for the podium. And of course, don't rule out Colin Barker. He has the pace to stay with these guys. Solid performance by Greg Metcalf, and also Fillingham just staying in P2, not dropping back. He had quite a bad first race, and last time at Silverstone was not ideal either. But fighting back is Fillingham, and showing some good pace, which will be a confidence boost for him. Meanwhile, Ben Reynolds down to 9 seconds behind Merazzi and Carman. Here's Merazzi, that's Carman here at the front, so that gap is only 2.5 seconds, which can start to play in Merazzi's favor if he can keep Steve Carman within arm's length. Let's have a look back from Greg Metcalf as Smedegaard tries to intimidate him, which is for sure not an easy task with these very small and tiny cars. But as you can see, they drive like a dream. Firstly, secondly, they are free, so there are still some spots left, as you can see in this series. If you want to join these guys, if you think you are better than these guys on the track, just try and prove yourself and get on this grid. Fight for those podium spots if you can, and see what RRLeagues.com is made of. Once again, this weekend on Saturday, we have a 2-hour endurance race using the Group C and Group 4 cars, as Parker behind goes very, very wide through turn 1. For some reason I forgot the track of the endurance round, so let me quickly pull that up. Oh, Smedegaard spins it into the wall, but gets going again. Yes, he gets going again. Carmen is behind him, and Smedegaard has to start all over again. Mistake on his own accord, unfortunately. Luckily he still has 25 minutes to make up for time lost. Timing sheets not showing any damage there for him, so very fortunate. I was looking for our race club event. It's Salzburgring GP, 2 hours around the Salzburgring GP, Group C and Group 4 multi-class race this Saturday, so join us for that if you feel like it. So everything settling down a little bit here in this race. Still last lap for Tony Ukic at 13.6. Last lap for Fillingham at 13 flat, so 6/10 quicker than Ukic. Fillingham keeping that gap quite steady. The gap to Greg Metcalf is about 6 to 7 seconds. So let's see if something could happen there, and let's also follow Smedegaard to see if he can close down that gap to Colin Barker and Greg Metcalf once again. Here we see Greg Metcalf in the forefront, and Colin Barker in the green and yellow car, and Magnus Smedegaard just in front of Carmen. Merazzi now bringing the gap for the AmCup lead down to 1.7 seconds, and Reynolds only 7 seconds behind them, so that battle also closing right up. Let's give that a little bit of time to brew, and I'm sure we'll see some action there. Let's ride with our second place man Stefano Merazzi. He's under 1 second now of Steve Carman. Ooh, very wide there by Carman. Let's have a look at the quickest laps. Carman with a 13.1. Merazzi with a 13.7, so the ultimate pace in favor of Steve Carman, but Ben Reynolds behind. Fastest lap of a 12.3, so he is the quickest man of this bunch, proven by his race win in race 1. But does he have the consistency and the time to get close to this battle? Only half a second now between our AmCup first and second place drivers. Steve Carman needs to take this win here at the Nurburgring in the second race, giving him more points for this second and longer race to bring him closer to the leader Ben Reynolds. Let's quickly bring that up. Points deficit 17 points for Steve Carman. So that's easily bridged with a good result here in race 2. And the gap to Ben Reynolds now down to 6.5 seconds. Let's have a look at the last lap times here for these guys. Steve Carman, he puts in a 16.1, 15.3 for Merazzi. and a 14.1 for Ben Reynolds. So nice to see. Last place is quickest. So this will for sure be a battle to stay with here in this case. Meanwhile, at the front, the gap grows to 5 seconds. Smedegaard slowly but surely closing the gap down to Colin Barker, but he has already a 5-second gap in front to Greg Metcalf, so that will be a tough one to bridge if Greg keeps it tidy and on the track. Good performances here by the AM Cup drivers, who are not bad drivers by any means. AM Cup drivers at RRLeagues.com are just classified in that class and can opt out if they want, but you get put in that class automatically if you have never gotten a RRLeagues podium position in a race, which is the case for Carmen and Reynolds. Merazzi is a new driver for this series, so he automatically gets put in the AM Cup. And well, looking at the past races and this race, it looks like that's the perfect fit for him right now. Stefano Merazzi diving into the pits. I almost forgot that that was part of this race. Merazzi into the pits as we have a 40-minute race, of course, and the guys having to pit. Also, Greg Metcalf is in the pits. Barker is also in the pits. Race leaders stay in, and it's Colin Barker getting out in front of Greg Metcalf, so he gains the position. And that gap was 5 seconds, so a great stop by Colin Barker. Let's just see if he didn't underfuel the car at the end of the race, because making up a 5-second gap to Metcalf in the pits, that surely involves a risk taken there for Barker, but it's nice to see. Good strategy. Let's see what he can make of it. And also probably here at the end of this lap some other guys will be coming in. This splits up the AM Cup battle. Merazzi now in last position at the moment, but he did already pit. So let's have a quick look what Ukic will do at the end of this lap. Will he dive into the pits as well? We only have 18 minutes to go, and it's a long lap, so I don't think it really makes sense to keep going on these tires. Just change them here in the middle of the race. And yes, indeed, Ukic into the pits, Fillingham into the pits as well. Smedegaard coming up onto the final chicane. He will probably also dive into the pits. And you can see the gaps there. Let's follow up how those gaps evolve when they come out, of course. Fillingham stopping the car. No, Ukic stopping the car, sorry. Fillingham taking one of the last pit boxes. Smedegaard. Good stop from him. Ukic and Fillingham are back underway already. So that gap stays at about 5 to 6 seconds. That's nothing new. Carmen then into the pits. Will he have a good stop? Ben Reynolds gets in front but needs to stop still. Carmen underway. Now let's have a look. Stefano Merazzi. He is right there with Steve Carmen and in front. Does he get it stopped? He's a bit wide, but he takes the lead in the AM Cup from Steve Carman in the pit cycle. So a bit of an undercut by Merazzi there to take P1 in the AM Cup. Reynolds is also out of the pits and under 5 seconds behind these guys, so that will surely be a battle to watch. Meanwhile, Colin Barker is still in P3 of this race, closely followed by Metcalf and Magnus Smedegaard. So once again, we have this three-way battle for the last podium spot, and once again, this Formula Race Room Junior delivers the goods. Good racing here on this track by our drivers. Let's see how that battle in the AM Cup shapes up in the coming minutes. Reynolds is in any case closing that gap, but let's just ride on board with Smedegaard. He's chasing down Metcalf and Barker for the last podium spot, and it seems meanwhile that RRL Motorsports has everything under control for now at the lead of this race. I'll quickly take a drink and I'll be right back with you. Smedegaard meanwhile is the quickest man on track, fastest lap time in 2:10.7, so even quicker than in race 1. 2:10.9 for Tony Ukic only, so Smedegaard has the pace to get some good points here in this race still, and to keep Tony Ukic on his toes for the championship. It doesn't get any closer than this. Can Smedegaard make the pass for P4 on Greg Metcalf, who goes defensive? Meanwhile, let's have a look here. Lead battle as well for the AM Cup lead, and the gap down to Ben Reynolds here, only 4 seconds now. So Reynolds might be right in time at the end of this race to spice things up. And Smedegaard, we just missed that, moving to the other battle. Unfortunately, Smedegaard getting past Greg Metcalf. Probably a mistake into the last turn by Metcalf, I think. But Smedegaard up into P4 and now hunting down Colin Barker. The gap at the front, meanwhile, up to 8 seconds. Yeah, Merazzi made a mistake. He's a bit further back from Carmen at the moment, and Ben Reynolds is right with him. So the gap's a bit bigger there, but Still very, very close, and Carmen still in the lead of that AM Cup race here, all within one shot after 30 minutes of racing. Three-way scrap for the podium. So we have these two battles to look for: the battle for P3 and the battle for the AM Cup lead, which will for sure keep us entertained until the end of this fourth round of the championship. Metcalf ready to retake P4 from Smedegaard. Smedegaard on the inside gets the braking done and can defend through the chicane. Yes, he can. Meanwhile, Reynolds really putting the pressure on Merazzi now. Oh, Merazzi going wide. And on the right side, Merazzi is slow and lets Ben Reynolds pass, it seems. Maybe he thought he cut the track and gained an unfair advantage. That puts Ben Reynolds into P2 in the AM Cup and hunting down Steve Carmen. Smedegaard and Metcalf look to be a bit quicker than Barker in front. Also judging by their fastest lap times, that is the case. So Barker, let's call it cork in the bottle at the moment, but well, in P3 on merit, of course. As they go side by side, Smedegaard will be on the inside here for the braking into the hairpin, but Barker gets his braking done properly and can defend for the moment. This is as close as you can be to the gearbox, especially through this Schumacher S's. Not easy to follow a car through that section here. Hard braking once again, and Smedegaard just biding his time, staying behind. Now going for the outside line and cutting back onto the back straight. Let's have a look at that from Greg's perspective. Will Barker stay defensive on the inside line? No, he doesn't. He moves to the right. But it looks like he has the grunt to stay in front. Ben Reynolds bringing down the gap for the AM Cup lead to 2 seconds. So we'll have to pick and choose what we watch here in the coming minutes. Smedegaard going for the inside. Colin Barker doesn't really defend on the limiter. Hard braking. Can Smedegaard get it done? He will have to defend on the inside from Colin Barker. Can he stick it around the outside? That will be very tough in this corner. So Smedegaard completes the pass up into P3 and a podium spot for him at the moment. Now he needs to get away from these guys or they will keep the pressure on him. Metcalf looking to follow through. Very good driving by Barker there to defend. Not the easiest corner to defend with confidence. You are side by side, but you need to turn in because it's quite narrow and you don't want to end up on the outside there on the grass and lose out. So Metcalf trying to follow through for P4. Oh, and there's been a lead change in the AM Cup, unfortunately, due to a mistake by Steve Carmen. Just missed that, but he's now 8 seconds behind Merazzi, so he had a crash, which puts championship leader Ben Reynolds in P1, followed by Stefano Merazzi 3 seconds back. Oh, great Metcalf getting a good run here onto the back straight. side by side. He's on the inside through this fast right-hand kink. Almost on the grass for Colin Barker, but he is on the inside, so he can defend. And he does that. Doesn't want to let that P4 go. So Ben Reynolds, 5 minutes ago, he was in third spot. Now he's back at the lead of the Amp Cup standings here for this race, and will solidify his first place in the championship if everything still goes to plan. Metcalf looking at the inside here for turn 1. Parker, as with Smedegaard, leaving the door open. Bit of touching there side by side, but Greg Metcalf goes through to take P4. So Parker now in losing 2 positions in 2 laps time, unfortunately. But as I said, Metcalf and Smedegaard had the ultimate pace to be a bit quicker than him. So there's no shame in that. Good defensive driving from him to keep these guys behind for 4 to 5 laps, if I remember correctly. So it looks like everybody now more or less ending up where they need to be. The gap at the front staying at about 8 seconds between Ukic and Fillingham. Ukic probably managing that gap and not overdriving the car if it's not necessary. If you have a guard as your teammate and then still a 10-second gap to Smedegaard behind, that's always a nice position to be in. Let's ride a lap on board with our race leader, championship leader, and race winner for race 1. No, sorry, that was Sven Hikke. Almost forgot that. He's our only retirement here for this second race. So over the line at 12.5 was that last lap for Ukic. Guys now starting to struggle with old tires. There's a multiplier on the tire wear, and that comes into play at the end of these 20-minute stints. Oh, very, very wide there for Ukic. Top 4 in the 212s now on the last lap. Simon Fillingham, quickest of the bunch with a 212 flat. Through the Schumacher S's for Tony Ukic. Onto the back straight, and we have a 2 minutes and 30 seconds to go. So the next lap will be the last lap of this race, which will give us time to go through the field and have a look at the probable finishing order, as gaps have settled down now throughout the field. So we have Tony Ukic going through the last turn and starting his final lap of this race, taking another race win and improving his position in the Drivers' Championship. His teammate Simon Fillingham, barring any unforeseen circumstances, will take P2, so a 1-2 for RRL Motorsports, doing a good job in the team's championship. Magnus Smedegaard having to really fight for it here in race 2 for sure, but taking P3 in the last of the podium spots. And Greg Metcalf will probably finish P4. Colin Barker is right there with him in P5 to take advantage of any last lap mistakes on worn tires. And then we have our AM Cup lead, which is Ben Reynolds here on the main straight, being followed by Stefano Merazzi, and Steve Carman is in third spot in the AM Cup and last position overall. So that's our running order. 8 finishing cars normally. Let's hope Colin Barker makes it until the end of this race, because he had a really quick pit stop and might have taken some liberties on the fuel load he put in. But meanwhile, Tony Ukic in Sector 2 on his final lap of this race. Very good performance from him, showing good pace, but Smedegaard and also Fillingham showing that they are in a position to fight with him in the coming races. So it'll be nice to see that panning out at Brands Hatch Indy and the Hungaroring. Around the last corner for Tony Ukic, who takes a race 2 win here at the Nurburgring and completes a 1-2 finish for RRL Motorsports. Well done, Tony Ukic, race winner of race 2. Sven Hecke, race winner of race 1. Fillingham finishing in second. Smedegaard making his way up into P3. And then Greg Metcalf will finish in P4, followed by Colin Barker, who dropped back a bit, so a small mistake on the last lap probably. Ben Reynolds has a 5-second gap to his closest rival in the background there, Stefano Merazzi, so no issue for him to take another AM Cup win here in this series. Stefano Merazzi will take second spot, and Steve Carman had the lead for quite a long time but lost it there at the end. He will finish in P3 and take home some solid points from this race as well, of course. So that's the final running order for race 2 of round 4 of the Formula Race Room Junior Series here at RRLeagues.com. Here are the final standings. Tony Ukic, once again race winner and fastest lap. That's what he has been doing in the past few races. And does again here for race 2. So Tony Ukic winning race 2, Sven Hecke winning race 1, but non-finisher in race 2 unfortunately. And then all that is left for me to say is thank you for watching. If you liked what you see, you can subscribe to our channel, hit the bell icon to get notifications of any future streams, and most importantly, if you want to get racing with us, it's as easy as joining RRLeagues.com and our forum to get a spot in one of these 4 championships running, or be part of our race club endurance events that are run on the weekends from time to time. So if you don't want to commit to a full championship, there's always that option. These 4 series are running, and our next live stream will be the DTM 92 BMW versus Merc in about 10 days. There will be another live stream of that epic racing. In the weekend we will have Formula FR90 on Sunday, and then next week on Wednesday we will have another flat 6 race. So plenty of action, 2 races per week here at rrleagues.com, disregarding the endurance events, one of which is this Saturday, Salzburg Ring, Group 4 and Group C in Race Room Racing Experience. So join us for that, and join us at UnitedRacersLeague.com. That's all from me. See you in 2 weeks time for Brands Hatch Indy, the 5th round of this championship, which will be live stream, but unfortunately without live commentary by myself because I will be on holiday. But you will still be able to witness all the action live here at our YouTube channel. So that's it for me. Have a very good night and keep racing.